welcome to the Natural Nation Network here on Edge Radio. We have an opportunity to talk to some of the greatest minds in the country. And today we have just such a mind. Now, of course, my co-host Nicole is out with sick children today. I hope that they are feeling better. Our prayers are with them. But, you know, kids, they bounce back pretty quick. But us adults sometimes have a little bit more of a challenge. And that's what we want to talk about today with both a dear friend of mine as well as a academic in the areas of health and wellness. Hello, Jean Ricks. How are you?
I'm well. Good morning. How are you?
We are doing fantastic. So you are joining us from probably enviably a place that was known as Ground Zero.
Oh, yeah.
So you are in New Rochelle, New York. Is that right?
Yes, yes. And
Wow.
actually now Texas is off limits. It's a quarantine. Mayor, Governor Cuomo, we have a large list of places that we can't go without quarantining now. And Texas is on that list.
Wow. So we are off limits. That's understandable. I understand that the virus has taken hold. We've had a few spikes here in Texas. But, you know, before we actually get into this, we have a good amount of time to spend with you. So I kind of want to unpack this a little bit to give our listeners an opportunity to really appreciate who they're talking to. So, Jean, give us a little bit of your background before we go any further.
Well, let's start at the very beginning. I was sick for a long, long time. I had a disease that it manifested itself in my teens, but really came to fruition in my 20s. And I've had surgery 5 times for this, and I actually realized that Western medicine was not getting me healthy so much as it was managing the issue, you know. And so I started educating myself. I wanted to get healthy. So the first thing I did, read a book by Linus Pauling called How to Live Longer and Feel Better, and it's all about vitamin C. He is a 3-time Nobel laureate in chemistry, and the book is all about vitamin C. So from there, I got my training at Columbia University's Teachers College as a nutritionist. I also got training as an herbalist through the Open Center here in New York. It's a wonderful open university program. And then I also got my personal training certification through the American Council on Exercise. And then I needed another tool, and the other tool is hypnosis. And I got that certification through the National Guild. So those are my certifications, and the reason for them, because I needed all of those elements in order to get healthy. I mean, it's not just, it's the mind as well as the body. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not just one thing.
Yes, yes. You know, I love what you're saying there, and I want our listeners to just sort of take a moment to really take that in. You recognize that there was a combination of things that had to be done for you to be healthy, but I love that you made the connection between mind and body because a lot of people, especially in the Western medical paradigm, they treat the body, but they don't recognize how much the mind is playing
Mm,
into that illness. So,
absolutely.
so from your standpoint, when you were sort of going through this evolution of learning, when did you really make the mind body connection? What resonated with you that sort of put those pieces together?
You know, I had an unusual upbringing in that I began martial arts when I was 11 years old. And I had an amazing, amazing teacher. He taught us how to meditate. Imagine you got this group of these little kids, and he's teaching you how to meditate. So, one of the things that I noticed just for myself was that when I centered and focused, and meditation was something that I've left and returned to several times in my lifetime. It's so funny because you get something that works, and then for whatever reason, life circumstances or whatever, you lose track of it, and then you come back to it, and then you leave it again. So I recognized that in the periods when I meditated, I generally overall felt better. And I started doing more reading on how just endorphins and you know these are the chemicals that the brain makes in order to make you feel better.
Yes.
And I had done research on how those endorphins and serotonin and these other hormones get upregulated when you meditate. So very early, I made that mind body connection, but it was making the connection that not only could you feel emotionally better, but it actually had a vertical response in the body, making the body healthier as well.
Mhm. Yes. Now, I love that because I know from my perspective, I read long ago how the body and the mind were connected, but I didn't really make a lot of sense of it. And then when I was maybe about 12 or 13, I think I had a cold and we got into a near accident. Like it was just like seconds from us getting into a major collision. And of course, I was watching it unfold. I had a cold at the time. My nose was completely stuffy. And I never forgot, once that shot of adrenaline went through my body, I was like, I can breathe. Oh my God, what a concept, right? And I was thinking, now, how's that possible? I normally had to take this nose spray that burned, but all of a sudden I could breathe, and it was from that shot of adrenaline. And I started realizing that the body made that happen. That means that the body has the ability to cure whatever maladies, and I'm starting to put those pieces together. So, in terms of what you've experienced from a clinical standpoint, you mentioned that you also got into hypnosis. What was the process of learning that hypnosis and how it related to health? I mean, what were you doing specific to that?
Well, I've also authored two books on stress. The Biology of Beating Stress is the first book that I did, and I had stress.
Yeah.
Centered around sort of the financial crisis, but I also have PTSD. And as I was researching, because as you know me, so you know that as soon as I get a diagnosis of anything for anybody, friends, whatever, I'm on the computer, I'm in the library. And I researched the PTSD and realized that even just common everyday stress, quote unquote stress, was killing people. I mean, the effects of stress on the body are immediate. And as you experienced with that adrenaline, now check this out. That was an accident, but people are giving themselves those shots of adrenaline throughout their day because they've trained their minds to believe that certain other things, certain ordinary everyday things, are actually quote unquote stressors for them. And since the body doesn't know stress, the body only knows danger and non-danger. Stress, this gray area, is something that we've created. But it's not real.
Mhm.
So here you have a stressor, you get a phone call from somebody that's aggravating, or you're standing in line and you also have to, or you don't stand in the line anymore,
You're
but you're in
standing in line, and
traffic.
an old lady has coupons, and she says, "Where was that other one I was?"
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
And you've got somewhere to go and you're standing behind her
Exactly.
and you're like, oh, or you
Yeah.
get a bill that you're not expecting. And now you're okay. So that's stress, that immediate stress response also gives you a shot of adrenaline. And what that adrenaline does, as you notice, there are some good effects. Like it gave you a natural histamine
Yes.
response. But that histamine response happening over and over again throughout the day, it causes inflammation in the body and it deteriorates the immune system. So, this is the mechanism by which just stress, and think of the stress people are under today. I mean, just being under the lockdown was subliminally stressful, if you will.
Yes.
But then there's the other stresses that come with it. A lot of people are experiencing financial difficulties right now. Well, that constant low level stress, the thing in the back of your head that's just kind of, yeah, yeah. You wake up in the morning and it's there. You go to bed, it's still there. That low level stress is also giving your body little shots of adrenaline throughout the day, throughout the night. And it is ruining your immune system, which is just what you need right now for this stupid, this thing that we're in.
Yes. Wow. So that's a fascinating breakdown. So you said something interesting, and I think, quite frankly, the after effects of this have not yet been seen. You mentioned
Mm.
post-traumatic stress disorder, and people that experience this fearful event that started March of 2020 that are still in it, many are going to have some pretty substantial backlash from all of this. There's a fear that, you're going to drop dead in the street. And so everyone's wearing masks, everyone's being frightened. So that's a lot of stress, right?
And there's certain communities, let's be honest. There are certain urban communities where everyday living is stressful. Everyday living contains some element of potential violence, of potential threat. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Just living there is actually giving them low levels of PTSD. It's not diagnosed as such, but that's what it actually is. You have whole communities that actually have low level PTSD, but they'll never be diagnosed because they didn't go to a war. They didn't have an overt, obvious connection to an event, if you
Yeah.
will, that caused the PTSD. It's just living there is a traumatic experience. Do you know
But
what I'm saying?
I would have to say, Gene, of course, I agree with you, but I probably would take exception to this idea of it being low level. There are children in Watts and Harlem and Chicago that are seeing their best friends die. That's exactly what a Marine experienced in Afghanistan, except they knew they were in war. These kids are walking down the street, going to school, and being slaughtered. It's egregious. And I've spoken to ministers, one of which I admire right here in Houston. This guy's been on the scene of almost every major shooting death in Houston related to young black teenagers. And I have to tell you, what he told me was horrific because it's not just the child that died, but the effect on the little brother and the big sister and mom and dad that was in prison that's trying to make things right again. It's a total mess. So what we
Combined with a
have,
sense of futility and hopelessness that they don't have a future. When
correct.
you don't feel you have a future to live for, that doesn't inspire you to take the kind of positive actions that you can for your life because you don't see a future.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. You're spot on. So, folks, we're going to take a break right now. We are talking to Gene Ricks, naturopath, as well as hypnotherapist. There's some more interesting conversation we have with Gene to come up. Stay right there. You're listening to the Edge Radio Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
We've been out of control since we got hit back in March 2020. Mortality rates keep climbing. Infection rates go up and down and then back up again. How long will this go on? No clear answer. Will a vaccine even be effective as this virus continues to spread and to mutate? No clear answers there either. I'm a trained nutritionist, herbologist, personal trainer, behavior modification, and stress sciences expert. I'm also a COVID-19 and pneumonia survivor. I've watched the continuous wall-to-wall news coverage, and while yes, wearing a mask and social distancing are crucial now, you're not being given important tools that you need in order to fortify your first line of defense, your best line of defense, which is your own immune system. What's going on here? There are simple, affordable, and natural ways to help build your immune system to fight any virus or bacteria now, and it starts inside of you. That's why I need to invite you to join me for Beyond the Mask, an intimate talk about vital ways to immediately begin boosting your immune system. Are you worried about the potentials of a second wave? Are you concerned now that your immune system may not be strong enough? Let me show you now the changes that will allow you to optimize it. Let me show you how to maximize your exercise benefits in a 12-minute routine that you'll do every other day to easily increase your metabolism, strengthen your respiratory and immune systems, and give you better circulation throughout your body. Listen, sugar feeds both bacteria and viruses. Let me show you ways to kick that sugar addiction now and to get some weight off. Let me share with you keys to better nutrition that boosts your immune system. We are all under too much stress, and stress weakens your immune system. It single-handedly leaves you vulnerable to all kinds of health issues and infections because stress reduces your immune cell numbers and their ability to function. Let me show you tools that you'll easily integrate into your daily life now to naturally reduce your stress cortisol response. I also want you to know about some nutritional supplements that have been shown to naturally improve your immune system and your overall health. Since January, there have been over 700 studies released worldwide on the relationship between COVID-19 and vitamin D3 deficiency. You need to know why. You want to improve your own immune defenses now? Want to take back your control? Sign up today for Beyond the Mask and join me as I give you information and tools to easily get you back on track towards a healthier overall immune system now.
And we are back. You are listening to the Natural Nation Network here on Edge Radio. We are live in Midtown, 415 West Gray. We are going to be inviting folks out to a live studio audience recording. But I want to remind everyone, and we're going to be having all our hosts talk about it throughout the day. We are going to be having a very special event. A voter registration drive will be taking place here at the Edge Radio Network, Midtown Bar and Grill, 415 West Gray, on September 26th between 4 and 8 p.m. So if you need to register to vote, come out at 4 p.m., grab a little bit of food. There'll be social distancing, but you can register to vote. At 6 o'clock, we're going to get a little jazzy because happy hour begins. There'll be drink specials, and we'll have a live jazz band. Hopefully the weather's cooperating on that beautiful front porch. We're going to have artists out there. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. And with any luck, I'm going to get somebody to play some salsa music. We'll see what happens. So, Jean Ricks, we are live with the amazing Miss Jean Ricks. She is satelliting from New York. And we've been having an interesting conversation just now, Jean, about the immune system and the different aspects of post-traumatic stress and how the mind and body are sort of interconnected. But I wanted to kind of delve in a little bit more on this aspect of the immune system because you've been really at the cutting edge, and you mentioned that early on in your orientation to health and wellness, Linus Pauling and the studies on vitamin C were a real impact. And many people, because of how vitamin C has been sort of cheapened, don't realize the value of it. But talk to us a little bit about the importance of building the immune system.
You know, we have so many aspects. It is a system, you know, it's not just one thing. And we have been taught to, as you and I were talking about in the break, we've been taught to kind of look at the body as being separate from the mind. And I got to tell you, your emotions affect your health instantaneously. It one to one. You are not just one person. You are a combination of over 50 trillion cells by any estimation. And each one of those cells is listening to your responses emotionally and mentally. It's listening in, and it is affected immediately, which means you can boost your immune system by boosting literally the way you feel. Those endorphins are serious. And I got to tell you, I just had a root canal a couple of days ago. And what people don't recognize often enough is the connection between even their dental health and their immune system. If you have an infection going on here, first of all, you are more likely to have heart disease and heart issues and even stroke just from having an infection, an oral infection. So there's a one-to-one relationship here between your gum, your oral health, and your heart health. And we need to be cognizant of that. We need to take care of our teeth. And I know a lot of dental plans aren't included with the medical. And so sometimes people let those things slip. I encourage you to keep track of your dental health as part of your immune system. It's a system, it's not just one thing.
Yes. Wow. Now, you hit on something that I know a lot of people may not be as aware of, and that's the correlation between dental and your physical health. Now, people can actually Google charts that correspond your teeth to various organs in your body. And most people don't realize that the body's connected like that, right?
Well, that's a bit of a misnomer. That's not entirely 100% accurate. Um, but in terms of gum health and infections and disease, yes, there's a definite correlation. Absolutely.
Mhm. Wow. Well, I know that a lot of times, I heard a story, for example, where there was a gentleman that went in, decided that he wanted to pull all his fillings out. He had a bunch of different amalgam fillings. He heard about the evils of amalgam and he wanted to pull them out. And they said that when they extracted all those fillings, this man, they were cleaning out and irrigating and then replacing it with a safer filling. He actually went into some form of toxic shock, had a heart attack, a stroke. I mean, it just debilitated him.
Well, I actually had that process done myself. I was fine. So,
Oh, no, no. I'm not saying it happens with everyone, but just saying that that's how serious the consequences could be to someone who's maybe neglected their dental health over a period of time. So
oh
it is
yeah,
something
absolutely.
that
Because
really
once
has
again,
to be
when they did
addressed.
that process, they also released a certain amount of toxins within the bloodstream from having done it. I don't know the procedure by which they did it, but yes, you can absolutely release all. Remember, you've got underneath those fillings, for instance, my fillings, I have to admit, were from when I was in summer camp and may not have had such good dental habits. So those sins of the past, if you will, those fillings have been in there for a good long time. And unbeknownst to me, there were infections going on underneath them. He had to really dig deep on a few of them because underneath the filling, surrounding the original filling, there were infections still going on, still present. I'm so glad that I did the process because I was actually relieved of infections that I didn't even know were present. It's the same thing, believe it or not, Oscar, with weight loss. You get these
Mhm.
people who want to lose real quick and they want to lose large amounts of weight. When your body stores toxins in your fat, I mean, did you ever think of what the fat is actually used for? It's used to store toxins. So when you're losing weight, you don't want to lose more than about a pound or a pound and a half per week because you want to give the body time to absorb the toxins that are released every time you lose a pound of fat. And also, fat is a bound molecule. So for every one molecule of fat that you burn away, you actually burn away 4 molecules of water. So that's why people often see what is reflected as having lost a lot of weight, and they've actually lost just a lot of water. Some of these diets are just criminal because they make people think that they're really, really losing weight, and they're losing just water.
So you bring up another interesting point on the weight loss side, and I know people listening, statistically, about 60 to 75% of them want to listen very closely to what we're talking about right now, and certainly want to share it with those who might be affected. So, with regard to this weight loss, you mentioned the toxins from the fat reabsorbing into their bodies. With regard to that, would you suggest a detox protocol that gets rid of some of the toxins before a serious attempt at weight loss?
That's a misnomer too. I mean, as we're speaking, you're detoxing. We detox all the time. If we didn't, we'd be dead. What we do have to do is support the mechanisms of detoxification within our body. You got to support your kidneys, support your liver, not have a junk-filled diet. Those are the things you're constantly detoxing. But I'm also a very big proponent of fasting at least one day a week, not just for detoxification, it's for support of the detoxification process that your body is naturally involved in anyway. Also, by fasting one day a week, you're supporting your digestion. We eat too doggone much. You know, we don't even realize that industrialized farming didn't come into fruition until the 1800s. So it hasn't been that long that we've had this constant access to food. So our body had become adjusted to having certain amount of periods of, if you will, famine, or for lack of a better, just not eating for certain periods. And we now overeat because we have constant access to food and constant access to bad food choices. Consequently, I am a big proponent of fasting one day a week. It also helps with weight loss. Get this. Okay, so for people with type 2 diabetes, it is a phenomenal benefit because it forces the body during that one day of not eating, it forces the body to look for resources and to start certain repair mechanisms, the first of which is the insulin sensitivity, which is the issue with type 2 diabetes. It starts regulating that insulin sensitivity level because there's no food coming in. It's like, oh my God, I got to get the resource for glucose. And that's what it does. It starts regulating that insulin sensitivity that's been thrown off by the constant pancreatic, insulin raising through eating crap.
Wow. Wow. That's fascinating. So walk us through the process of this fasting. What are you doing during the day? Are you drinking water, obviously, right? So walk us through that.
Exactly. And it's not for everybody, and you would have to see your doctor. I'm not telling anyone that they should absolutely do it. I'm telling you, talk to your doctor first and discuss it before you make any changes to your personal regimen. For me, I began initially because I was a wuss. No.
Well, I'll tell you
I,
what, Miss Wuss. No, we're good friends. No, I was just going to say, Gene, we're up against another commercial. Let's take that
oh,
break. And I want to
okay.
invite listeners to share this, get some folks online, because we're going to talk through this fasting piece, because it's something that I've tried and I love. So, Gene, stay right there. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. Folks, you're listening to the Edge Radio Network here in Midtown. Back in just a moment.
Well, hello out there. Hey, my name is Dwayne Hines with Real Talk Real Estate, along with my sidekick,
Damian Hughes.
Hey, and we are the double D's of real estate. So look, if you're out there and you've been interested in owning a home, but you've been getting run around and you don't know how the process goes, hey, dial the number on the bottom of your screen. Give us a call. Get some real talk, real solutions on all your real estate concerns. We are the double D's of real estate.
Be sure to catch us every Wednesday on Edge Radio at 11:30 for Real Talk Real Estate. D. Hines, Damian Hughes, the Double D's.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
And we're back. The Athletes United Experience on Edge Radio, and where truth still matters. As a side note, viewers, the Art and Jazz Fest voter registration drive, and as we talked about this earlier, will be held right here at the Midtown Board and Grill, September 26th, beginning at 4 p.m. That is the Art Jazz Fest voter registration drive. So come on out, prepare to complete your civic duty, and vote your consciousness. Okay. As we broke, we're talking to Dr. Crystal Mark here, and she had
We work our whole lives to support our families.
With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
On my list are states with no state tax. Okay.
And we are back. You're listening to the Natural Nation Network. In case you're wondering why I'm sitting by my lonesome in this beautiful studio, I'm not quite by my lonesome. I am joined with the amazing and fabulous Miss Jean Ricks. Jean, we have been having a fascinating conversation around this idea of health and what it means in a holistic sense. And just now, you were really helping our audience to understand the correlation between some of the dental problems and some of the physical problems. Before that, we were talking about the emotional aspects. But there's a part of this that I think is a little bit more personal, and I'd like to kind of delve into that space. At the beginning of the show, we were talking about how you literally were and are living at what came to be now known as ground zero for the coronavirus. You were in New Rochelle, New York, where all of this started. Tell us your experience.
Yeah, well, I live in a building. I had chosen this building because it had what I felt was a stable community. My building is filled with hospital workers because it's near the hospital.
Mhm.
And I have to say that was actually to my detriment because these folks, bless their hearts, are coming in every day from work and bringing all of that in with them. And I was unfortunate enough to get coronavirus back on March 23rd. And yes, I can specify the day because that's the day I had a fever of 102 that just, oh my God, it was relentless. It was a 24-day affair for me. And I think, Oscar, the reason, and I don't have verification on this, but I think the reason for that is because I don't ever get sick. I never get sick. And so that means that I didn't have an updated version of the corona. Now, COVID is completely new, but the coronavirus has been around for a good 50 years. And coronavirus is something that pops up quite frequently. And if you're out and about in the public, which I am not, I work from home, so I do blogging and all that kind of stuff. And if you're out and about in the world, you can pick up versions of corona or other, illnesses, bacterial infections, viruses. There are thousands of them all around. You can pick up those and you may have smaller, lighter versions of it. It may be almost feel like an allergic reaction, or maybe you'll have a 2-day or a 24-hour bug Well, that's your immune system taking care of some virus and building your antibodies so that it's in, if you will, your encyclopedia. We're born with something called, you have a human virome. You've heard of the human genome. Well, we also have a virome, which is as unique as your fingerprint. It's unique to you. That's why organ donation is so difficult, because the donor's organ looks to the recipient as if it's an invading foreign object filled with all kinds of viruses, and it is. You have a virome, and it's like an encyclopedia that your body uses whenever you've got an infection. It references that encyclopedia to say, oh, what is that like? What's the closest thing to it? What is that? Oh, it's kind of like this. And it has keys that it tries to unlock viruses with. Viruses cannot be killed. It's not like a bacterium. So they reside in you. So right now, Oscar, you have thousands of viruses laying dormant. You are asymptomatic. They're just there as part of you. You have something to the order of, so if you have 50 trillion Oscar cells, 50 trillion cells that make up Oscar, you have 10 times that number in bacteria cells that are right there with you. That's part of your microbiome. And then you have 10 times the number of that in viruses. So you are not just that one wonderful Oscar person. You are actually a colony, a walking, living, breathing colony. And so the reason I believe that I got coronavirus so harshly is because I didn't have an updated version of it, because I basically am not around people enough to get little sicknesses, little viruses and bacterium. And so that thing kicked my behind for 24 days. I not only had the virus, I also had the pneumonia that trailed after it. And I think that is the thing that really, if you will, kills people, because here you've been fighting this virus with all your body's put all its resources into fighting. And then boom, you get hit with this pneumonia. Now your body has to cull new resources, and it's already, tapped out. And now it has to find new resources to fight the pneumonia with.
Wow. That sounded like quite an epic battle. So you were saying, and this is something I think is important for people to really get, that part of your susceptibility to this whole thing was the fact that you weren't being exposed to regular stuff out there on a regular basis. So your immune system was compromised from a lack of exposure to pathogens.
Absolutely, which is one of my cautional fears about the lockdown and kids not being exposed to a lot of things. And I think we also systemically failed people who are in health facilities, nursing homes, that kind of thing, because we should have required, it should have been mandated that anyone who goes into one of those facilities, there should have been a triage station where they were restricted from wearing their outside clothes into that facility. There should have been a change station right there. And then when they came back out, they should have also not been carrying whatever was in there outside. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
We need that exposure, but we need not to expose people who are highly susceptible, who have comorbidity issues. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. But I heard something from the CDC where they were talking about approximately 9,600 people that actually died of the virus if they removed the comorbidity issues. Have you heard that?
No, but I do know that our testing is not particularly good. I tested negatively twice for coronavirus while I had the virus.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I was well, about 14 days after I was, completely, the pneumonia, everything was gone, that I got tested for the antibodies. And that's when they found, oh my goodness, you certainly did have COVID. So our testing is not great.
Yeah. Well, the other misconception, and you might be able to clear this up, but I think where I had somewhat of a concern was that, let's differentiate for a moment. We have COVID-19. COVID-19 is a new virus according to the CDC, but we have corona, Corona is a common cold, for a lack of a better word. There are various forms of coronaviruses. They've been around, as you said, for better than 60 years. At least they've been identified. They've been around forever. We just didn't call them that. But they call them corona because of the crown-like spikes and how that connects to receptors in the body to cause the pathogen to spread. So with regard to this COVID-19, that was a new virus, and your body just wasn't able to cope with all the complications that brought along because it was already compromised.
Because your body, imagine your immune system, because remember, you can't kill a virus. So imagine your immune system has like a janitor with a large set of keys, right? So it took my body a longer time to find that key to unlock. A virus has a hard protein coating that your immune system has to be able to break through in order to be able to encapsulate it and deal with it. So imagine your immune system as a janitor with a large set of keys. And so it's looking for that key. Because my janitor didn't have a fresher copy of the coronavirus already inhabited in my virome, it really had to look for that key. Now, you may have an updated version of the corona. You may have had a corona from 2016, something that's close. Do you see what I mean? And so your body goes, corona, oh, wait, I got this key from back here.
Or something,
yeah. And so your body goes, oh, wait, I've got this key. Let me try this one. Boom. And so that's why people have different levels of symptoms. And that's why people have different symptoms even. So not just the quality of the symptom, but also the length of time is going to be different for each and every person. And each and every person who gets it also affects the virus itself. Each person causes a slight mutation to that virus. And over time, it will mutate. It will make a leap. And then we'll have another version of it. That's why every year the flu shot is slightly different. And they're actually basing it on last year's flu.
Year is obsolete, right? So
exactly.
With this so-called vaccine that they're trying to come up with, if in fact you have a vaccine that's going to be obsolete because the mutation from the virome has changed it, then that could be an ongoing problem. Now, you've become a bit of an expert here on this topic, not just because you are a sufferer and a survivor of COVID, but because as a health and wellness practitioner, you were able to put together a very, very specific protocol that allows individuals to avoid going through what you had to go through. So let's unpack that. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'd like to find out more, Gene, about this new seminar, this webinar that you're doing and how it can help people. Let's take a break. We'll be back with Gene Ricks in just a moment. The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information.
And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay.
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. Edge, because truth still matters.
When people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
And we are back. You're listening to the Natural Nation Network here on Edge Radio. We are Edge Radio live at 415 West Gray here in Midtown. We have the opportunity to connect with you both virtually and physically if you'd like to come down and join us. But today we're privileged to have as our guest Miss Jean Ricks. We've been learning a lot, Jean. You are what we might call a cornucopia of information. So if you would, I think. Yes, if you would unpack this for us, if you could, with regard to this coronavirus not being, you just said earlier, you can't kill this. What did you mean by that?
A virus is not a living thing. Well, it is. It's just a completely different form of life from what we think of. We think of life as something that eats and procreates, and this is not that. It's more like a common thumb drive. It's has a program on it. Think of a thumb drive. You have a program on it, but you cannot run that program from the thumb drive. No, you have to download that program onto your computer in order for it to run. That is exactly what a virus does. A virus is just a program. It's encapsulated in this hard protein shell, but it's just the program. It doesn't have a life cycle that we would recognize. It requires your body. So what it does is it enters through your mucous membranes, right? By the way, you cannot just steam it away. It does not wait for you to get home to steam yourself. As soon as it attaches to your mucous membrane, either your eyes, your nose, your ears, your mouth, it begins to go into the bloodstream. As soon as it's in the bloodstream, and we're talking seconds here, it's into your bloodstream, it's attaching to your cells. As you mentioned, the cell has these antennae all over it. It's not like a little globule, a little shiny ball. Your cells actually have thousands of antennae all over them. And the SARS-2 antenna, if you will, is how the COVID attaches itself. Once there, this virus now begins to replicate like very, very quickly. It uses your own cell's DNA. It has no life cycle, so it has no way to do it on its own. It uses your cells in order to replicate itself, and it replicates very, 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 very rapidly, very, very, very fast. And then that cell explodes, and now it attaches to other cells, and they start replicating very, very fast. And this whole process is so overwhelming to your immune system, it can't get on top. It can't get in front of this doggone infection. And that's what makes it so serious. Also, it targets the respiratory system. When you have something like polio, that targets the nervous system. This targets your respiratory system. And again, it can't be killed But what happens is your body creates antibodies finally to get in front of it and to be able to suppress it and keep it down, just like that virome that you already have, that you're born with, that
Yes.
individual fingerprint. You've already got thousands of these viruses living with you, not just in you, with you, because they're on your skin, they're everywhere. And that is what it becomes, just another member of your virome. It's just there, which is why when they create a new vaccine, it will be based on the older version. They'll have to, just like you get a flu shot every year, that kind of thing. This will require an update, if you will, which is why I'm teaching people in my webinar rather,
Yes.
how to boost their own immune systems, because your first line of defense, your best line of defense, is going to be your own immune system.
Yes.
We can't wait for, again, some magic cure. The magic cure is being so solid in your own immune system that you're able to get in front of this, get on top of this as quickly as possible. You got to support your own immune system. And that's what I'm teaching people, is those keys. I'm giving them the keys and the tools that they need to boost their own immune system.
Wow. You just said so much, but the way you unpacked that was beautiful. Because if I understand it to be like a thumb drive that's downloading of this virus is going to now become part of a community that is going to always be in my body. The only smart thing to do is to weaponize my body, right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I love that. So in this seminar that you're doing, Jean, give us some teasers. What are some of the things that we should be thinking about that we could be looking for or implementing?
Oh, well, there's absolutely supplementation out there that you can use. Remember, I mentioned, excuse me, the hard protein coating on the outside of that virus. There are supplements that can help your body break down that protein coating more quickly, more rapidly, so that your immune system can get in there and do what it needs to do. So I talk about supplementation. I talk about the various ways that we can just innately boost the immune system. I talk about weight loss. I talk about sugar. I talk about basic foods that actually boost your immune system, that are known to help. You know, our ancestors had a little bit of this worked out. We've just refined it. And we found those specific foods that really do benefit the entire immune system. And your attitude. You, I'm sure, know some people who just assume they're going to get sick. And wonder of wonders, they actually do.
Yep.
So it's also about attitude and stress reduction. I talk about stress reduction and reframing, and I give you tools for that as well.
Wow, I love it. So a person coming out of a program like this is fully equipped. And I think sometimes people think of this as a short-term problem. It's not. It's going to be here for many, 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 many moons. So if they are able to learn and gain this toolkit of different things they can do, that's really going to be to their ultimate benefit. So Jean, can you tell us, how can folks get connected to you? How can they get connected to this webinar?
It's called, the webinar is called Beyond the Mask. So in other words, I'm acknowledging that yes, wearing the mask and social distancing are important, but we need to get beyond the mask to get our immune systems healthy. So the webinar is called Beyond the Mask. It's a series. So it's October 5th, 12th, and 19th, different information on each day. So October 5th, 12th, and 19th. Go to Facebook and look for Beyond the Mask 1. Join our group there. You can go directly to ticket sales, which is just tinyurl.com Beyond the Mask 1. So in both versions, it's Beyond the Mask 1. Facebook, Beyond the Mask 1, and at tinyurl.com, also Beyond the Mask 1.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to repost this, and I'll put that tiny URL in there, but it's Beyond the Mask. So folks, those of you, Beyond the Mask 1 on Facebook, correct? Okay,
yes.
So that's the first in the series, and that's going to be starting on October 5th, you said?
5th, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding. So listeners, I invite you to share this conversation with people you know and love. especially the people in the vulnerable communities, because those are our grandparents, our fathers, mothers, those who we love. We've got to really guard and protect them. And Jean, it sounds like what you're doing will provide a wellspring of health. So that is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for joining us. Once again, how can they get connected to the wonderful and fabulous Miss Jean Ricks?
Well, my own website is NUDAY, NUDAY.com. But I encourage you to come join the Facebook group Beyond the Mask One and come to the event. I'm giving tools that you'll use for a lifetime, not just for this one illness, for a lifetime of healing and health.
Yes, thank you so much, Jean. Thank you for joining us, folks. This has been the Natural Nation Network. We want to invite you to stay tuned, because in just a moment, we will be going live with Mariday, talking about relationships, talking about the most intimate aspects of relationships, and certainly about your health and well-being. Stay tuned to the Edge Radio Network.